Okay, welcome back, everyone. I'm just going to stay on the ground here. I think that's more functional than climbing up the stairs. I could become a meme today, and I don't want that. I mean, I've had a good run. I don't want to end today, too, with, being a meme when I'm falling off. We can use 3 mics, sir. Do not worry about that. So it's 11:26, I believe. I know that a Canadian rock band is in another room right now doing some talking. So the fact that you're here means, yeah, you're the real deal. And our next speakers are going to make, they're going to make it worth your while, I'm pretty sure. So please give it up for Arielle, Nawal, Jeanne, and Drach. I hope I got that correctly. They are the women shaping the future of the podcast business.
Hello, can you hear this? Yeah? Okay, sweet. Hi, everybody. I've always wanted to play at the same time as Nickelback. This is huge. This is a great day. I'm very excited to be here to moderate a discussion. My name's Arielle Nissenblatt. I am the Community Marketing Manager at Descript, and I am the founder of Earbuds Podcast Collective, a podcast recommendation newsletter and podcast. I love podcasts. I love women who make podcasts. That's what we're here today to discuss. We've got about 40 minutes. I want to tell you everything there is to know about these 3 women. They will also be telling you a ton about themselves and how they founded their companies and what that means for the future of podcasting. And we're also going to leave some time at the end for questions. So start thinking now about questions that you have for these people. They're awesome. They are wealths of knowledge. And shall we get into it, ladies?
Sure.
Okay, so first I would like to begin. I'm going to ask each of you to introduce yourselves in about 45 seconds, and I want you to introduce yourself and your company in a way that you have never introduced your company before. So the reason I ask that is because I think we all sort of have these, when we're asked to introduce ourselves, we have this elevator pitch. We say, my name's Arielle Nissenblatt, I'm the founder of this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. I'm going to ask you to get out of that and try it a little bit differently. We obviously won't know that you are, it's kind of a test for you, so have fun. We'll begin with you, Nawal. We'll begin with you, Jeanne.
Okay. I am Jeanne Drach, and I'm doing podcasts. I've been doing podcasts for 7 years, and I am telling stories. I'm trying not to think of a pitch, but actually I don't have a good pitch. Okay, 45 seconds. I like to tell stories. I'm half French, half Austrian, and have this company called Oh Wow. And this is actually the program of everything I try to do. I try to have oh wow moments in every podcast. And if I do it for corporate podcasts or for originals or for media, it's the same. I want to have oh wow moments.
That's beautiful. I can see the wheels turning in your head, Maria. Go ahead. Who are you?
The most pressure for me is the 45 seconds. As a podcaster,
I'm not timing.
a podcaster, that is crazy. Okay. At 2015, I was a huge podcast fan, and I also wanted to create a workplace for me and other people where they would actually like to come to work. And so I put these 2 things together, and then because I thought that whatever we do at this company where everyone is as happy as they can be, we will create the most exciting podcasts and things for our clients, and then in the end we will make money. So I try to get in from a very idealistic, let's try to be as happy in our workplace as possible and then create stuff.
Perfect, thank you.
You did it.
You did it. Hi, everybody. So I'm Nawal. 7 years ago, I wasn't listening podcast. I was working in a marketing agency. I was a consultant and strategy director. And I set up a lot of different strategies, and my clients' brands asked me to do it faster, to have less time to do and to share a lot of messages It was like video, 40 seconds to say something, 30 seconds to say something, 20 seconds to say something. And I was so tired about that. And I discovered the podcast. In France, we have like maybe 10 years later after the American people. So we discovered podcast 10 years ago. And I fell in love with this format because finally I could create slow content for my clients. So with CALLIOPÉ, we just bring together my passion for brand, my passion for marketing, and my passion for the slow content. And it works very well, actually.
Awesome. Thank you all for indulging me there. Okay, so let's talk about the names of your companies. I think that's something that's super unique. You know, it's not like Stratford Ventures, you know, and something interesting that you all pointed out to me when we were just having a discussion before we began is that none of your companies have investors. And I think without investors, you have freedom. You have a lot of freedom. And one of those freedoms is the ability to name your company whatever the hell you want. So let's talk about that. What is, oh, wow. Okay. Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's actually pretty banal. I thought of a few words that would be nice for me, or words that I say a lot, and it was oh la la, or oh la la, or oh la la, or oh wow. And I thought oh wow was quite better, actually. Yeah. So that's the story behind oh wow, behind the words oh wow, and I tried to do it like a sonic branding. So yeah.
Do you ever get any pushback, or do people question, is your company really called Oh Wow?
No. The fun things that are happening is like when people say, when I tell people what I do, and then they say, oh wow, and I'm like, yes, exactly. That's what I'm called. And I try to get in the brains of people. Like, this is my secret mission, that every time a person says, oh wow, they think of me. That's my secret mission.
Pool artists. Where's the pool?
Yeah. Yeah, people keep asking me that, actually. Like, try to be fun. Do you also produce whirlpools? No. The answer is no. It's a very silly story, to be honest. I was 21, and I went out with friends, and we got drunk. I'm not sure I can say that here, but I did. And then we thought, we know so many artists who do so many amazing things, and they don't have money to do anything, so why don't they just trade their things? Like, I play at your vernissage, and then you make the pictures for my cover or whatever. And so in one night, we created pool artists, because all the artists were supposed to put their gifts in the pool. And then the next day, we completely forgot about it. But I bought the website. And then for like 10 years, way before podcasts, I had this email address, maria@poolartists. And when I founded Pool Artists, I thought, I already have it, it sounds nice, and I don't want to have a name that connects to podcasts, because I knew I would at some point not like it anymore, like a wordplay or something like that. So I just stuck with Pool Artists, and because I thought it sounded nice. It's kind of the same story. It sounded nice.
Yeah, I think there are so many companies nowadays, they're like, okay, we want to do something in podcasts, so we can either use the word pod or cast.
Yeah.
So I commend you on this. Go ahead, Nawal.
So we didn't pick this choice. When you don't have investor, you are free, but we are two people, so I have my associate. So you have to be agree with the name. We are two female. We wanted a feminine name. We were in love with the story. We are storyteller. So we picked CALLIOPÉ because it's the first daughter of Zeus, the god, and she's the goddess of the poetry and the oral expression. So we were like on a list of all the goddess and the name. And when we find CALLIOPÉ, we say, okay, it mixes a lot of things. It's a female name. It means something for us, and it's pretty pretty okay and easy to pronounce in English, in French. So we pick it and we bought the domain name, because it's the first things to see also is like to see if you have competitors with the same name. And in France we didn't have a lot, so we decided to choose it because it's something very important. I think the website name for after. So we bought the .fr, the .com, the .net, the whatever, just to be sure. Maybe one day we will be very famous and people want our name. So we bought everything.
Let's talk more about the freedom that you all have without investors. I think this is really something that's huge, is you're not reliant on dollars from outside that control what you make, why you make it, and when you make it. So talk to me a little bit more about that. What freedoms on a day-to-day basis do you enjoy as the founders of your companies that maybe you can juxtapose that feel different from when you worked at other companies? Any of you?
I think is a choice and is dependent on how you see your company, what's the purpose of your company on your life. With my associate, we are 50%. So it's our life and it's our company. And to be without an investor or investors is very important for us because we want to have our freedom. We see a very long-term company, and we don't want to scale like in 2 months, in 1 year. We want to take our time to grow slowly but surely, and it's very important for us to make the right choice, to take time to have the right employees, what we are talking about it, the right employees in the right place, to have the company feel like how we feel it, and it's very important for us. And if we have investor, maybe one day we'll get a cry. It can be a question, but it should be something about your choice of running the company and the freedom you want to put on it.
I just didn't want to. Nah, whatever. We're very polite. Yeah, for us, it's all the stuff you said. Too. We are also 2 women leading the company, 50-50.
You're not 51 and 49.
No, we're 50-50. And we can, what is very important to us, as I said in the beginning, is that we create a great working place. I don't want to be too, Alice in Wonderland. It is work in the end. So of course, sometimes our employees are annoyed and they look forward to the weekend. But we wanted to create a great working place, and we can only do that when making money is only one goal that we have. And we had the feeling if we get investors from the beginning, then that would be the main goal. Like it would immediately become the main goal, because otherwise it wouldn't make sense for the investors. And we wanted to create a company where they have different goals, like people like to come to work for us. Also, we want to decide for ourselves with which clients we work. Sometimes huge clients come to us, want us to produce their podcast, but we just don't want to because they're like a bad company, or we just didn't like them. I know it sounds very naive, but sometimes we know after the first meeting we would lose 2 people if we would work with them, because they feel very like that. And we can decide who we hire and what we do. And also we have the 4-day work week. We couldn't have done that if we had investors and stuff like that. So money is a goal, but not the most important goal.
To be completely honest, when I began with the company with Nawal 5 years ago, I was like, I couldn't imagine that there was this possibility of having investors. Actually, I was just like trying to do a business out of podcasts, like doing good podcasts and getting paid for it. And now. I think for me it's a bit different because I'm alone, so I feel alone a lot, and this is quite
not anymore.
No, yeah, always. No, but it was difficult to not have a partner, I think. Although I have my boyfriend is also my partner, my strategic partner and co-owner. But I founded it alone a while, and that was a bit hard also. Like I didn't have this one person to share the whole thing with. All the questions I had, because it was very strange. I had so many questions. Being an entrepreneur was something completely new, because I was an artist before, so I was like jingling around and doing music and puppeteering stuff, and then having my first employee, and now I have 5 employees. It's such a different life, and I'm having all these questions. How can I be a good boss? Boss is like not such a beautiful word, but how can I be a not so? How can I jungle not having this hierarchies, but also be clear and making these decisions that are good for my employees and for me and for the podcasts. So yeah, investors. I think I'm pretty proud that I made it so far without investors, and I think it's pretty special for you too, because there are so many companies that have big investors right from the beginning. So I think that's cool that we don't. But I mean, who knows? In 5 years, maybe we think differently. It's possible. But yeah, freedom is important.
Money can help sometimes.
Yeah, money is. Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the podcasts that you make. I would like for each of you to think about 2 podcasts that you make. One, the podcast that when people say, what's your biggest podcast? What's your flagship podcast? And then what's a podcast that does not get enough love in your slate? So take a moment, and whenever you're ready. And give us about 30 seconds of each.
Okay.
And get your phones out, everybody. Get ready to subscribe.
The first podcast we are well known for is we work for Dior, which is a French luxury brand. And the story with Dior is very particular for us because they trusted us, they have been trusted since 2019. My company has 6 months. We didn't produce a lot of podcasts before them, and they trusted us, and it's still the case right now. And we had this stamp from them at the beginning of the company, and it helped us to develop all the other luxury brands we work for. And it's an amazing story because we saw Dior evolve with the format. We started with talks. We did a lot of talks just before the pandemic and during the pandemic. And after we started with narrative format, we do tales for kids. We do a lot of different things, and it's amazing to have a relationship with a client for 1, 2, 3 years because you can grow up with them. And this is the biggest story for us.
What's the name of that one?
We have Dior Talks, Dior Tales, Dior Stories. Is one of the brand. You can have the name of the brand on the podcast name because it's Dior. The other client, we try to don't have to debrand the podcast because it doesn't work. Who want to listen to the podcast from an insurance? It's not possible. So we try another way to enter with the content and not the name. And the other podcast is for a real estate company. It's not sexy when I say that, but the format is amazing because it's like a documentary. We have a journalist who investigates and asks himself some question. The journalist is the same age than the audience we target, and he asks questions about himself. I didn't think about it in English, so the title will be will be so hard to translate it in English. So it's like if my tell me if you don't understand it. Like my urban life is compatible with the environment feeling I have. It means should I live in a big city or should I live in the suburb or, for example, outside in the outside countryside? We say in the countryside. So he asked himself question, and the targeting audience can have the same question, and he tried to answer those questions with some experts, which are, for example, art people, historical people. So it's different experts, and I think it's one of our best podcasts, but it's very hard to pitch it, as you understood. That's all.
I just go, the biggest podcast we have is called Verbrechen, which is just crime. That's the word. It's huge. And we are very lucky to have been producing it and also creating it from the start. We produce it for Zeit, which is a German online publishing platform. That sounds like a blog. it's big. And so this is the biggest one. And one that we just recently made that I'm very proud of but doesn't get the audience I think it deserves is called Die Geschichte meines Lebens, which is translated to The Story of My Life. And we talked with grandmas who lived in or just right after the Second World War, and they are telling us their stories and giving us perspectives. You never heard this perspective of the time after the Second World War before, because when we heard them talk about it, we were like constantly amazed because we felt that it's so hard that we usually get only the male perspective of the World War, and not a single word about how was it exactly in the homes of people for the women. And these are stories that will blow your mind if you are able to speak German and understand German. And it's funny, I cried, I laughed, everything. It's amazing how these people, how these women can tell their stories. And I think it's really sad that not a lot of people will hear them, so that's one.
Okay, maybe the biggest one we produce corporate podcasts and originals. So one corporate podcast which is quite big is the one for the Austrian postal office, post?
Oh, yeah.
Like for the
mail.
What?
Right.
Mail, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What? How do you call it?
Post.
Yeah, for the Austrian Post, which is called Postcast. So very original. But it works.
Oh, wow.
And it's quite cute because it's the story of a package which goes from one city to another, and it's told by the perspective of the package. So it's quite cute, and it's from the narrator is a radio journalist from the biggest radio station in Austria, Ö3. So it's quite cool and cute. And and the podcast that doesn't get enough attention is, I would say, my new podcast, my own podcast, Jeanne's Variété. It's a weird, super weird podcast. So if you speak German, maybe you can listen to it, and maybe you'd like it. But it's a weird podcast it's like a magazine, a curated magazine where I try to put some feminist optimism into the world, because I'm very often quite depressed about the world, and I'm the only thing that really keeps me up is people who do good things and women who do good things. So it's about books, it's about films, it's about beautiful words, it's about weird questions that I haven't gotten the answer to, and it's about historical women we forgot, it's about modern women that I like, and yeah, it's a bit crazy, and it's like a variété, so it's very theatrical.
Can I have a time check? How much time do I have? Anybody know?
15 minutes.
15? Okay. All right, I have another question for you, and then we are going to open it up to questions from the crowd. So get your thinking caps on, and we're really excited to take your questions. Okay, my next question is, I want to talk a little bit more about company culture. Tell us something unique that your company does that was a reaction to you working for other companies in the past, whether those were male-dominated or very corporate or whatever the situation is. What is something that you do in your company now that you think, I would never have done this if I had not had an equal and opposite experience in the past?
You want to start?
What I always hated when I was an employee myself is somehow people higher in the hierarchy keeping informations for themselves, and they think that is somehow power, instead of just explaining what they do so that people don't get frustrated because they don't know what's going on. And so Frida, my business partner, and I, we decided that we want to be as transparent as possible without like violating any personal data. And so we do have a lot of meetings with our employees and talk about why we made what decision as a company. And so that they can know why we said at some point no and we said yes at another point, and why that didn't work, and also why they have the wages they have, and why we decided to say no to this customer and stuff like that. So we try to, if they are interested, I also want to make sure that we don't force people to have all these talks with us, because I also want to acknowledge some people just coming to work and just, I don't want to work, I don't need new best friends, I just want to make a good job and then go home, I don't need all this company, let's just talk to each other. But we, if people want that, we do that. And also I think that we only work 4 days a week. That's another thing.
Everybody's, wow, 4 days.
Yeah,
we want that. That's amazing. On our side, I think we consider very well our partners, because they're part of the value we propose to our clients. So in our market, we are well known to pay well and on time. And this is very weird to say, like, this is something specific to pay well and on time our partners, but it is the case, because they bring all the values, and like the authors, writers, journalists, hosts, is very important because they are independent. We have the money from our brands, our clients, and it's very important for us to have them like completely involved in the project. It's important for us that they want to work with us. They want to work on this project. They do it for the money, of course, because they're part of the business. But they also want to be in the very trusted relationship. So it's different than other companies on the market. But it's something very, very important for us, and it helps us to have the trust from our partners, and we go faster, we go further with them. So yeah, it's very important things.
I was only an employee for 1 year, so at a puppeteer theater. So, but I thought one thing that I learned from them, which was good and not bad, is that it's important to celebrate the successes. So that's what we do a lot. I think if something good is happening, we're like, hey, something good happened, so we can be proud of ourselves. So that's pretty cool. And otherwise, I would say, I mean, I didn't have any bad examples, so that's maybe a good thing. But it's super important.
I'm like, give me your trauma.
Exactly. I'm sorry. Yeah, but otherwise, it's super important for us for me to have this respectful relationship with my colleagues. I think that's pretty important, and to be honest to each other, and not being afraid to talk to each other. I think that's pretty special sometimes. And we do something that's called Inspirational Mondays. So every now and then we talk about something that inspired us. And that's something really important, I think, that we're not only in this working modus all the time, but we take a little bit of time to be to be creative and to be inspired. And all my employees, or half of my employees, are here right now. So yeah, that's important, I think.
Awesome. We have about 10 minutes left. Is that right? All right. We would love to take your questions. I think that we have a microphone. We will have a microphone. And yeah, so we've got a question over there behind you.
Hello, I'm Sarah from Headliner, and I have a question for Nawal and Maria. You were saying that your companies are 50-50 equity with your co-founders, and that's surprising because I think the common knowledge is that that's a bad idea, but is that just the patriarchy telling us that, or Like, how does that work? And have you had any friction? And do you expect it to stay the same with your respective co-founders?
I find I didn't know that it was common knowledge that it's a bad idea.
I don't know.
Good to know. I need to make some calls. I started as a one-person podcast producer, and I founded the company with Frida when it was just too much for one person. And from the beginning on, I knew if I take one person on to help me do that, in the beginning, it should be 50-50 because I don't want to be alone making all these decisions. And I think for me, that's also a bit self-care. I didn't study being an entrepreneur, and by now I did, to be honest, but not in the beginning. And I wanted someone who I can feel on the same height, being like, what do you think? What do I think? And then we really have to discuss it until the end, because I think this is where the best decisions come about, because she is completely different from who I am. If I would do it on my own, I think the company wouldn't be there anymore. If she would have done it on their own, the same. And just because it's the two of us and we keep on fighting every argument until the end, I think this is usually then the best decisions that we make. So I think it's a good thing. Maybe these people who said that don't like to, I don't know, discuss stuff or just being questions. I don't know. I like it.
Yes, for my side, it's a very interesting question. I'm associated with my best friend. So for us, it's like a life project. In the same time, it's a professional project. So our accountant told us like to have 51 and 49, of course, because at the end, to run a company, we need someone who takes decisions. But on our side, if we don't get along, it doesn't make sense for us to continue. So the idea is more to say we need to talk a lot, to communicate a lot, to find solutions, to share a lot of our vision, because we are totally different too. That's what it works, I guess. So it's very important to share the vision. And at the end of the day, the question is what decision we can make for the company, for us. And if I cannot like to have 51 and at the end say, okay, I'm the boss, so this is my decision. It doesn't work. It's not a long-term relationship. So we decided to pay 50-50, and it works since 5 years, so it's okay.
I think if more women would lead companies, I think it would actually be common knowledge to do that as two people.
It was the patriarchy all along? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think we discovered something here.
Hi, my name is Jeanne. I'm a podcast media trainer, but I want to hear from you on advices for the woman who wants to start up their companies in podcast. If you can give 2 to 3 advices for this woman.
Someone who starts her podcast company? Okay, advices. Maybe one advice is you don't have to do everything on your own. Trying to find a partner is one thing, but it's not so easy to find a partner. I mean, was both your best friends, so but also having coaches, someone who has the expertise, not the podcast expertise, but the expertise of how to be an entrepreneur. I think that's useful. I think.
Yeah, I think what you said, find out what you don't know and ask other people, and don't be afraid to ask other people, but also know what you know and then be brave with it and just do it. And not like solve some things on the way and not beforehand. I think this is the reason, I'm sorry that I have to get back to that, this is the reason why a lot of women that I know, they have so many great ideas, but they just don't do it because they think they have to make it perfect before they start. But you can solve a lot of stuff beforehand. And sometimes men are, because of all how we came up and everything and the culture and you know what I mean, they sometimes just think, I have an idea, I start now. you know? And so I think we should do that more, but also know what you don't know. Yeah.
I think you have to trust your intuition. It means like you have an experience, even if it's in podcast or not in podcast. You have intuition, you have expertise. Sorry. So you have to trust yourself. And the key fact is also to for example, in the company for 5 years, we've been coaching by different people because we don't know everything, and we are two. So sometimes it's great to have a third person to have a global vision. So you can ask not friends. You can have you can ask experts. It's very important to ask some experts at some point, on some moment of your career and company. And we are example of we did it and we still learn it. So you won't learn something by theory. So just do it, and you will understand how it works. You will understand you will fail, of course, but is the most amazing things. And after you will find another way, solution. You find solution every day. So, but you have to do it to understand it, I think.
Also because we all gave, I'm so sorry, very emotional answers. I also think you should see what problem you think you can solve. There is, you know, if you have an idea that you could think could be a company or an idea, you should really check and see, do other people do this already? What is the thing that I can add to that and other people don't already, and stuff like that. So what is the problem, how you want to solve it? I think just on a very entrepreneurial basis, you also have to think about that too, of course.
I think we have time for one more. I wonder how Nickelback is doing.
Oh, wait. Hi, my name is Albert. I have one question. There was a lot of talk about knowledge. What is one thing you would have loved to know when you started? So where you found out in hindsight.
I have to think about it. Yeah. What's the one thing that you would like to have known before you started?
Nothing is better to leave it, but if you want to do it. A lot of people told me like the most important thing is the HR. It means like the people and the cash flow. The two important things when you run a company. And I knew it. But when you live it, that's why I told you like you have to do it to really understand it. It's like you have to experience it to understand like how people is so difficult to manage every day. They are amazing. I love my employees. I love my partners. But every day to manage like the mindset, the humor, the whatever is so hard. And it's a key fact of your company because we are selling time, we are selling expertise, we are selling not people, but what they do. So that's start to be very weird. So it's very, very hard. And to be coached with that is for me is like it's the must-have because you put a lot of emotion on it because you share a lot of things with them, and at the same time it's something we run business. So I would love to understand more how difficult it is.
I think the one thing that would have made me make in the beginning braver decisions is that founding a company and being a CEO or founder or whatever is not magic. Like, you know, I always thought I have to study this and that to do that. I have to look a certain way to be a CEO because all CEOs I knew from movies and TV shows all look the same. And so I thought, these people know something that I don't know, and it's illegal if I found a company now. And it's not. It's really not. And in the beginning, I was so afraid, like every time I signed a contract, like, am I allowed to do that? Is this legal? Will the contract police come now? Stuff like that, you know? So this is something that would have made me braver in the beginning and maybe would have made me able to move faster on some things. Founding a company, it's hard work, and you need to read a lot, and you need to talk to people a lot, but it's not magic, and you don't need to be white male and wear a suit. So
Oh wait, I've got 2 microphones. Oh wait, no. Yeah, I mean, I would say also a mixture of your both. Trust your guts. So often I thought I'm not competent enough to do this, and actually, I mean, I was and I am. So the things I don't know, I'm still learning. I'm learning so much, and mistakes aren't so bad. That's something I still have to learn because I hate doing mistakes. But today we learned that AI, it's the only thing that AI does not do. Or I mean, AI does a lot of mistakes, but we saw that AI isn't creative, isn't weird. And I think, yeah, embrace your weirdness if you feel weird. Yeah, trust your guts with also coworkers. If you have a bad feeling, even if it's the perfect on paper, it's the perfect person. Trust your guts, and trust your guts with the clients. If you don't have a good feeling about her or him, don't accept it, even if it's a lot of money. I think on the long run, it's so important to trust yourself.
Thank you all so much for coming. Thank you for being here.
I was just going to say that was such a last good question that we should hear from Arielle as well, don't we think? Yeah. So, yeah, the last question. What was the one thing you wish you knew before you started? We want to hear your thoughts as well.
Along the lines of what you all said, is that like nothing matters. Like sort of everything matters, but nothing matters. And what I mean by that is I think a lot of people come into podcasting thinking there are these specific rules that things are network regulated, but they are not. You know, you can come up with a 30-second pre-roll ad, and that can be 23 seconds. You know, and I think that's just that's emblematic of a larger, the larger world of podcasting is like you can pretty much do whatever you want as long as you can back it up and you're transparent about it. So I think a lot of people kind of need that permission, and you should take that and run. Thank you so much for asking me. Thank you all for being here. Thanks for being here while Nickelback was playing. I mean, that's huge, huge honor. Please connect with these ladies afterwards. They're all amazing. They're doing very cool things. They are shaping the future of the podcast industry, as are you. Have a lovely day.